Coming at you live from Yakima Valley Hop Shop in Yakima, Washington, hanging out with a bunch of rad folks who are in town for the tail end of Hop Harvest and all the sweet festivities that come with it. I'm your host, Marshall Schott, and joining me today are contributors Brian Hall from Anchorage, Alaska, and Malcolm Frazer. How you guys doing?
We're doing great.
Lovely.
Lovely. Malcolm, this is your first Hop Harvest. What do you think so far?
I love it. I smell hops everywhere.
Everywhere.
The best event of the year.
Yeah.
Absolutely my favorite thing.
My favorite thing.
And we got to go to two events that we've been talking about a ton. God, Brian. And first one was the Fresh Hop Party, which we did a couple nights ago. And then we did Fresh Hop Ale Festival last night. We have had more than our fill of fresh hop beers. Or wet hop beers, we should be calling them.
Wet hop beers.
Yeah.
Wet hops, yeah.
What do you guys think so far of these wet hop beers?
Some of them are really good, man. They do a good job. Not so super grassy like some of them used to be, I think. Just that there are some like that still, but man, Bellbreaker had some killer beers.
God,
Yeah,
man.
they're really good. I mean, it feels like you're just like chewing on the beer almost. There's so much hop flavor in there.
Yeah. Well, we've also got some other cool people hanging out with us today. Really just kind of haphazard join us. We had some extra mics come sit with us and answer some questions. Let's go around and introduce Shannon, dude, the Brew Brotha, up into house talk. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone out there. I'm very appreciative, and it's an honor to be joining on a Brewlosophy episode, so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Those who don't know me, I'm Shannon Harris, a.k.a. the Brew Brotha. You probably just went wild right now at home. Yeah.
I'm holding back right now, Shannon. Yeah. We've also got JT and Tim Butterfield from JT Thomas. I'm sorry, and Tim Butterfield from Yakima Craft Brewery here in town. Tell us a little bit about you guys, what you guys are up to.
This is JT with Yakima Craft Brewing.
We did that.
Yeah, that was his name.
Do you guys make beer? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, no, we actually kind of just went through like a big rebrand, and the brand's been around for over 10 years, but we just went through a big rebrand. We're getting into some new beers, hiring some new folks, getting some better brewers on and stuff. So we're pretty excited about all that.
Awesome, yeah. We're going to have you guys on a show after this as well to kind of talk about hops and Yakima and brewing more about that. But this show is our sixth Brü A episode. We've done 60 shows. What the hell, dude?
That's a lot.
That's a lot more than I ever thought we'd make. So 60 shows, man. We're at 60, and we promised that every 10th episode would be one of these silly Brü A's where we sit and answer questions. So now you actually get some good responses from people who aren't with Brewlosophy, and I think that's cool. So thank you guys for sitting with us. Unfortunately, our friend Matt Del Fiacco was unable to make it to this event, but he is going to be out in North Carolina soon, October 6th, for the North Carolina or NC Homebrew Fest. He's going to be doing a seminar there, collecting data. It's going to be pretty dope. So if you guys are in the area, this is an event that's put on by Atlantic Brew Supply and ABS Commercial, some sponsors of ours. And they're having Matt out to do some awesome experimental stuff, data collection. I know they're brewing the beers for him, so he's going to be there collecting data. Go over to NC Homebrew Fest. I think it's $10. It's like the cheapest homebrew fest you're going to. I know. Can't believe that. So Denny Kahn and I are going to be out in Asheville, North Carolina in March as well for the Brew Your Own boot camp. So if you want to go to that thing, you better get your tickets. Apparently they go pretty quick. So for those of you who are looking for an easy way to send us some love, you can head over to brewlosophy.com/support when doing your online shopping. You won't feel a thing, and we get a little kickback that helps us to keep bringing you this show. If you want a little something in return for your support, you can become a patron by committing to a small monthly pledge at patreon.com/brewlosophy. We haven't been drinking at all. For as little as $1 a month, patrons are invited to participate in the private brew club forum, or brew crew forum, receive a free, never before published recipe, get unique discounts at yakimavalleyhops.com. Thank you for that, Jeff. And perhaps our most popular reward, you get to attend a monthly live Q&A session with some really, really cool people. Usually next month, I'm the person who's doing the Q&A. It's probably going to be pretty lame. But hey, you can ask me anything you want. I'm an open book. Just ask anyone who's hung out with me. The month after that, we're going to have Dr. Charlie Bamforth on from the UC Davis Brewing Program. I'm probably more excited than our patrons to have him on.
Yeah, I think we should just skip yours and just do him twice.
Just cancel next month. I know. I mean, I'll be honest. The only reason I'm on is because I couldn't find someone to fill the October spot.
Dr. Charlie's great to listen to. Man.
He's an awesome dude.
Don't miss that.
Don't miss it. We've got Vinny Chilurzo from Russian River Brewing Company coming on in December. It's going to be dope. So make sure that if you want to get in on those, you go and you pledge at the $5 level, and you'll get all of the rewards for every level below that. So and new thing with Patreon, I think it's pretty cool. When you make your pledge, and as soon as I'm able to get to it, you get the rewards for that month. You no longer have to wait until the next month. So you can make your pledge whenever you want and get all the rewards for that month. Again, that's patreon.com/Brewlosophy. And hey, listen, I know it may not seem like a big deal to you listeners out there, but we seriously do appreciate all of the ratings and the reviews that you leave in Apple Podcasts or wherever it is you listen to podcasts. If you could just take the 5-10 seconds it takes to do that, we'd really appreciate that. All right, feedback this week is brought to you by our friends from Imperial Yeast, who sadly were unable to make it as well. They were planning on it, but they had something else going on. They're providing brewers with the finest quality yeast on the market, packing 200 billion cells into each pitch-right pouch. Brewers are ensured a quick and healthy fermentation with a wide range of ale and lager strains, as well as some of the funkier stuff out there. Imperial Yeast is sure to have what you need to turn your wort into delicious beer. Go check out everything Imperial Yeast has to offer at imperialyeast.com. Did you have something, Malcolm?
No, man, no.
All right, feedback this week. This just came in from Keith G. If that's his full last name, I think that's pretty cool.
That's sweet.
It's got, but I doubt it is. It's just he just.
I
said
hope he has a
G.
real deep voice.
Yeah.
Or plays a saxophone.
Yeah, the oboe. Yeah.
I'm Keith G.
Are you Kenny's cousin? What do you
He plays clarinet.
Kenny's cousin Keith.
I feel bad for making fun of Keith. He didn't even expect this.
Clarinet's great.
Yeah. All right, Keith said, so I went to Cold Crash and just now noticed that sanitizer from my blow-off bucket got sucked into the fermenter. Boy, this is a common problem. I'm assuming the beer is a goner, but I'm hoping you can give me some hope. Malcolm, can you give this guy some hope?
Dude, I had a I had a beer that probably sucked in, I don't know, half of one of those glass milk jugs worth of sanitizer, and the beer won a gold medal.
I told you judging is completely.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, especially if it's star sand, it's a food grade acid, and the yeast will actually consume it. So it's sweet. It's good to go.
So nothing to worry about, unless, I mean, I would imagine if there was like, 80% of the beer.
You will never taste it.
Yeah, it's
You will
nothing
never
to worry
taste it.
about. To piggyback off that, I had the same thing happen once too, and it was a 32-ounce growler.
Yeah.
Star Sand sucked back into a 5-gallon batch, and I won a gold medal at.
And it sucked the whole 32 ounces in there.
Sucked
So,
whole
kids, start
thing.
dumping star sand into you.
Yeah, that's how you win gold medals. That's how you win.
Gold medal
It was
advice
actually
there.
my first.
No
time.
wonder I've never won a gold medal. Jeez.
You don't know the secret yet.
Yeah. No, it was actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to write a book.
Don't forget the foam.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
my first time actually controlling temp. My first time cold crashing. And it happened, and it was in NHC, which I won the gold medal for.
Cheers, dude. That's great.
so-
Yeah. Well, hey,
No worries.
Keith G.
You've got a great way for eliminating that problem, though, with the suckback, right?
Yeah.
It's the balloon lock. TM.
I tried that out for the first time, actually,
It works
on
great.
my last batch, and it worked great.
So Bobby from brewhardware.com sent me an email a while back. He actually invented basically this really cool, like, it's. I'm not going to get into it now, but go
Yeah.
check it out. I forget what it's called. The Cold Crash King or something like that. But it's really cool. I think he's going to send a few out to me to try out. So, but
Awesome.
it basically does the same thing. It captures CO2. So you've got some options there, Keith, if you want to avoid this in the future. Another thing, Jake just doesn't even cold crash anymore. He kegs warm, throws his warm beer in the fridge and does it that way. So that's another option. But I think your beer is probably going to be fine. Taste it. That's the only way you're going to know.
Yep.
If you have show feedback, you can send it to feedback@brewlosophy.com, or you can leave us a message by calling 951-444-0320. So we're drinking some beers here that Brian brought. Did you buy any?
I did buy some.
Yes, you did. This is delicious, man. It's like a blueberry.
So this is the blueberry. I entered it as a blueberry lambic. It's the one that got bronze in the national competition this year, and it's a combination.
Let's say it does not taste like a silver medal.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I know. It's no silver gold, but this is the one we talked about a couple episodes ago, and it's. What I actually did is I fruit all my lambics individually, and I took all the leftover fruit, put it in a brew bag, and squeezed all out that fruit and let that settle out. And this beer is actually a combination of my blueberry lambic, or I shouldn't say use lambic inspired beer.
I was going to jump over you for that.
Yeah, I was deeply
I
offended.
saw you
Yeah.
guys looking at that. So
You get
my blueberry
tannins.
sour, peach nectarine sour, and rhubarb sour, and the peach nectarine didn't really come through, so I entered it just as a blueberry fruited lambic in the comp.
This is delicious.
It's so good.
Thanks.
It's good. I like it.
I guess we should end the show.
Done.
Yeah,
Cool.
just keep drinking
And
this beer.
done.
Yeah.
And done.
Well, if any of you guys ever had it's called Sati? Sati?
I've heard of it.
Yes, Sati.
Sati, have you had it?
Finish beer. Oh, yeah.
Is it to finish beer, right? There's, I believe there's like juniper.
Juniper.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
something like that.
Yep. The secret of sati is if you make it and it's delicious, you made it wrong.
Oh wow.
Well, some really rad homebrewers sent in some stuff.
On that note,
Yeah, and I didn't want to drink it all by myself, so I shared it with my friends Jersey and Tim. 1 minute beer review with Jersey and Tim.
It looks like mud water. I don't want
Is this grape juice? All right, here we go.
You first.
It's got some
It's
good.
like it's a good one. Did you say it's a good one?
The aroma got some like plum smelling.
But you say butt plum? I heard butt,
Yeah,
I heard
butt
butt
plum.
plum. Yeah, butt plum it is. Oh, that is that's not my thing.
That's not good.
I'm untoiled over this.
It's better than I could probably make, but
Don't sell yourself short. You're an incredible slouch.
thank you, Jersey.
That's just not my thing, man. It's like prune juice.
Yeah, it's not very carbonated either.
Figure that one out.
It's like some barley wine tasting.
Oh, look at you. It's not a barley wine.
All right, tell me what it is, Jersey.
It's prune juice.
It's no good.
It's no good to you.
In my stupid opinion, which means nothing, it's no good for me.
It's no good for me either. I'm kind of warming up to it. It's just not my thing though. But I give it 0.
I'm giving 0.
I give it 0 jerseys.
Okay, so I will read to you guys what this is I wanted to start you guys off on a style that I have to admit I've never had before in my life. I've never had this. It's called Sati.
Isn't that the name of the little girl in the Matrix? Yeah, it is.
So I want to read to you guys. There's a little bit of a story that goes with this. So it says, my son and I brewed up a Sati beer for our brew club.
I already feel like an asshole.
For our brew club competition this month. We followed the traditional style using a no boil recipe. So the beer, normally
I think they should have boiled it.
Does that you feel like the boil was a little low? Yeah. Hop tea for bittering, and you're gonna love this. Juniper berries for flavor.
You made this up the whole time. You didn't even notice juniper. Actual juniper. Real juniper.
He got me.
And it was fermented at 85 degrees Fahrenheit in his garage. So 85 degrees Fahrenheit, if I'm not mistaken, is close to about
85 degrees.
26 or 27 degrees Celsius, I think. I might be off on that.
Did you convert that just to seem smart?
He says it's not my favorite beer we've brewed, but I
either.
think it came out true to style. Ended up getting third in a competition. In that competition he entered. So pretty cool. I've never had this style.
I'm like, we both recognize that it was something that we're not used to, and that's why we didn't like it. I'm sure this is an amazing version of whatever it is supposed to be.
When you said prune juice, Jers, that's what I taste as well. It tastes like uncarbonated Dr. Pepper almost.
Yeah, that's good.
Right? Like,
but you say stuff like that, and instantly it starts tasting like.
Yeah, now it tastes like uncarbonate Dr. Pepper.
Uncarbonated Dr. Pepper. I don't know if that was actually a very accurate description. We'd had a few drinks, we were doing Sati, but that was how I perceived it. I don't know if it was supposed to lack carbonation. Have any of you tried a Sati before?
Yeah, like I said, it's a no boil beer and it's spiced, and it's worth looking up. It has a real traditional technique of they use open wood fermenters, and then they run the lauter off through this hollowed out tree called a Kerna or something like that, but I'm probably mispronouncing that. But anyways, it's a neat thing. It's a traditional Finnish beer. I think they're not my thing either.
It was not my thing.
Yeah.
There's no. Are you excited to brew one, Shannon?
I've never heard of it. And to enter it in a competition and win, I don't even know what category that will fall under.
Yeah, but good job, dude.
There is a
that's-
Sati category.
it's category
Historical
prune
beer.
juice.
Historical.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, that's one style I never will plan to brew. I don't know anything about historical brews.
I just think it'd be wild to do it because it looks like it's a fun process.
but
It
is
sounds
no
very,
boil
very
beer?
similar to the Kvike process
Yeah.
because filtering through the juniper boughs in Anchorage, we have juniper that grows at 2,000 feet, and I've gone up there and harvested those and done that, and it's got a really unique flavor to it.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly was unique. I'm good on the guys for winning the competition. Thanks, and thanks to them for sending it in. Yeah, for sure. If you have a beer or any other alcoholic beverage you want reviewed by these dudes, you can email me, marshall@brewlosophy.com, and we will get you all set up. When we come back, answers to your questions. Have you ever thought about adding a port to your kettle but held off because you didn't feel like drilling into your gear or sending it off to have someone else do it? From the makers of the super fast counterflow chiller, the Exchillerator, comes the Hangover, the easiest way to add extra ports to your kettle as well as countless other options. Mount a faucet to your keg for easy portable pouring. Set up the perfect whirlpool arm. Hold a heating element in place. All of this and so much more without permanently modifying your gear. Manufactured right here in the United States, the Hangover offers brewers too many convenient solutions to list here. So head over to Exchillerator.com today to see what the Hangover can do for you.
Hi, I'm Stephen Leach, creator of Brow Supply Brewing Systems, here to tell you about our latest Unibrow brewing system. Modeled after the brew in a bag method, the Unibrow uses the same kettle for both mashing and boiling, replacing the fabric bag with a stainless basket that can hold up to 20 pounds of grain. A heating element is run by an electric controller that allows for the maintenance of specific mash temperatures and makes mashing easier than ever. Each Unibrow is shipped with a counterflow chiller and the parts required to brew a batch of beer. We're really proud of the Unibrow, and we know you'll love it as much as we do. Go check it out at browsupply.com and sign up for our email list to receive special deals in your inbox.
Shopping for brewing supplies online can be a real hassle, which is why we recommend Love to Brew. They've got great prices, super fast shipping, and they carry exclusive products like East Coast Yeast, the Brewer's Essentials brand, and their award-winning beer recipe kits. They're also the only place you can pick up your very own Brewlosophy recipe kit. The numbers don't lie. Love to Brew has hundreds of 5-star reviews, and thousands of brewers are choosing them for their supplies and ingredients each year. Experience the difference at lovetobrew.com. That's love, the number 2, brew.com. When dumping wort-soaked grain and leftover low-gravity wort while cleaning up after a brew day, do you ever wonder what your true efficiency would be if that wort made its way to the kettle instead? Using the brew bag, a fabric filter for all mash tuns and brewing methods, allows you to capture every last drop of wort. Not only does this increase kettle efficiency, it lowers your grain bill, which saves you money. Throwing wort in the trash is like dumping a 12-pack down the drain and just doesn't make sense. Use the brew bag and leave no wort behind. I've been using these filters for a long time and recommend them to everyone. I never have to worry about a stuck sparge, and cleanup is fast and easy. Go grab yourself a brew bag fabric filter at brewinabag.com and be sure to use code TBP17 at checkout to get a discount on your order. All right, we got a bunch of questions to get to, but before that, Brian, you just poured us this beer. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so this is we previously just drank the blueberry rhubarb version, which was a combination of kind of all the leftover fruits from 4 other beers, and this is one of those 4 beers. So this is a rhubarb lambic-inspired beer, and it's been single rhubarbed as opposed to double rhubarb, because sometimes I will add it multiple times during the aging process, and
it's so good.
Yeah,
I mean, delicious.
It's very drinkable.
Yeah, it is. God, people who aren't drinking it are going to be so envious that we get to drink Brian Hall's awesome sour.
Yeah. Send it in to Jersey and Tim.
He's had them. Jersey and Tim have reviewed some of his
They did
beers.
it live at HomeBrewCon.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome. So, and they loved it. Man, those two are big on sour beers now.
They are.
They're loving the sour beers. Well, let's jump right into this. I'm going to read the first question. It comes from Adam Keach from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This comes in via email. And anybody who has any responses, just jump in, man. Let's have a good time with this. He says, how much of an effect does grain crush consistency have on mash efficiency? I usually order ingredients from More Beer, or I get them from my local shop, and my mash efficiency is all over the map, varying between 60 and 75%. If I guess it right in Beersmith, I nail the batch and end up with a really solid beer. Other times I miss it. Always guess mash efficiency is higher than it ends up being, and I end up with a thin beer. Is crushing my own grain the key? I already adjust for mash pH using a spreadsheet, although I don't use a meter to check it. Where do I go from here?
Yeah, if you crush finer, you'll get more efficiency. And these homebrew shops, not just More Beer, but even your local one, they kind of crush for everybody.
Yes,
and they also crush so that you have a nice, easy lauter. So, if you want to increase your efficiency, I don't care about efficiency as a home brewer. What's your opinion, Shane?
To piggyback off, I agree. Getting crushed grains, from my experience at least, from homebrew shops, it's a general crush.
Yeah.
Everybody gets the same crush. It's nothing dedicated to your beer. There's nothing like crushing your own grains. Like when you have full control over brewing your beer, and when it comes to crushing those grains, you can see a better efficiency when you tie it down to what your system is capable of and crushing it to what you want. And if you do brew in a bag, I mean, you can crush that shit down to flour and get a pretty awesome efficiency off of it.
Yeah, the biggest bump in my efficiency number, but also in the consistency of my efficiency, was when I when I got a mill and started milling my own grain. Yeah. And the thing I think homebrewers need to understand, first off, like Malcolm mentioned, efficiency is not a big deal. If you're just accept 65% and be cool with it, but
as long as it's repeatable, that's all that matters.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
It
repeatable.
And it sounds like he's not having repeatable results. So, he's saying he's going from 60 to 75%, and he's getting it from his homebrew shop. He's ordering stuff online. Yep. And so maybe what he needs to do is just understand that, all right, if I order something online, my efficiency is going to be 70%, and that's what I'm going to put in.
Yeah.
Or if I do it from the homebrew shop, I know I'm going to get 60%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah,
because he wants repeatability.
Yeah, and just have different profiles set up. Because Beersmith has these various mash profiles, and one for like a more beer crush, or one for whatever.
Yeah,
it is.
set them up to whoever you order them from. Yeah. If you get them from Austin Homebrew Supply, or
that sounds
more
like
beer
a freaking
or
bother.
Something.
I would just buy a freaking mill, man.
I'm just saying, because I agree with everyone too. I saw my efficiency.
I'm just saying, if you don't want to buy a mill, that is one way to tackle problem. I would just go out and get a mill or find a friend with a mill.
Yeah.
It's like a boat.
Yeah, ruin their neurals.
It's like a boat or a pool. The best one's your friends.
Trust me, it'll make your brew day so much better when you mill your own grain.
Yeah, awesome. My favorite thing about having a mill, I couldn't care less about efficiency. It's that I can go out and brew whenever I want. Right?
Whenever you want.
You have mill, you have bulk hops, you got grains on hand, you got yeast on hand. You just go out and brew whenever you want. Yeah, I love that. So, hopefully that answered the question adequately.
Right on. All right, I'm gonna mess this name up here. So this is Raphael Jarrett. I'm gonna from it's KJARET from Norway. Ralph started brewing late in 2013, and he just brewed his 100th batch. Congratulations, man!
Wow, congrats!
Hey, yep. He brews 140 to 150 liter batches, which is 30 gallons ish, I think. Someone can help me out there. Often splits the wort between two fermenters to make different beers. His question has to do with gelatin finding. So he says he made a saison, fermented both with the WLP 556 and 566, fermented at 23C or 73 Fahrenheit. And for the first time, he tried finding with gelatin. The beer cleared up really nicely. That's been our experience. But ended up with a foul smell and taste. So he's certain the gelatin was unflavored and dissolved 1 gram per gallon of beer into 60 milliliters of boiled water.
Okay.
Then cooled it down before adding to the beer. After the gelatin solution was added, he gently stirred it into the beer using a sanitized stainless steel spoon for about 10 seconds. Raphael said he has a smaller keg of the same beer that wasn't fined with gelatin, and it tastes and smells fantastic. He's wondering what went wrong, if the gelatin fined beer might improve over time, and what other factors might be at play. So,
there's a lot here. Yeah,
the thing that jumps out at me is when he said he stirred it for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if he introduced something that caused whether it's an oxidation related off flavor, some sort of infection, because the keg that didn't get stirred or gelatin added to it, there was nothing wrong with it, he said.
Yeah, so it would be foul smell and taste. So what?
It's saison. Yeah. I mean, that's.
Well, you got the saison. You got the saison flavor, and then if you add in some oxidation to that, it'd probably be pretty foul.
But does it smell like the gelatin? Because if you smell a gelatin when you first make it,
it's weird.
It smells like it's pulverized animal parts, which it is. Yeah. So,
but I've used gelatin in hundreds of batches of beer, and I've never had that smell, which is never good. I've never had that carry over into the finished beer. So I'm kind of want to believe that this has more to do with probably like Brian was saying, the introduction of some sort of a bacteria.
Is he stirring it in a keg? I assume because he's.
Then it also depends. Did he clean the spoon or just sanitize?
He said it was
sanitized stainless spoon. He says, So.
But I wonder where he added it into, whether we added it into the keg. I mean, how do you add gelatin when you're adding gelatin to your keg or fermenter?
I use the microwave to heat up the water, and I just let it boil now because I mentioned this before. My thing is that I think that one, you can't denature gelatin, but two, that boiling I would think helps to sanitize the length of time that the glass measuring cup is in the microwave would sanitize the cup. So that's why I do that. And then I just really gently kind of pop the lid off of my brew bucket and pour it in and hope not to get too much oxygen. I definitely don't stir it, and I don't even mix the thing up. So there's really minimal introduction of oxygen, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So I looked up his rate. He did 1 gram per gallon, and I was thinking that sounds like a lot, And it's actually only slightly more than if you go onto the the brewlosophy, the finding.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The gelatin effect, yeah.
So we say a half teaspoon in like a quarter cup, right? So
all you need.
A teaspoon is about 1.5 to 2 grams.
Yeah.
So he's doing slightly more than that. He's doing double, but that to me is not a big deal.
No, it's not.
I
I
don't
mean,
think so.
I did an experiment comparing like a whole packet of gelatin to the normal rate.
Okay.
The results were funny because the more gelatin actually led to a far hazier beer, but they tasted the same. They didn't taste any different. So it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. I mean, that stuff drops out of solution. So I have to believe that there was something else going on.
I agree.
I think the moral is they needed to microwave his spoon. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't do that.
There is no spoon.
A really big spoon. Well, cool. I mean, dude, it's probably. I mean, I hate to say it, but I really do believe that contamination is.
I think contamination is the key.
Yeah, I think that or oxidation, one or the other. I think those
could
are
be it too.
Two of the biggest culprits for bad beer.
Oh yeah.
And if you're stirring a beer with a spoon after it's fermented, I don't know.
You more than
just
likely
sounds
introduce
risky.
oxygen.
Yeah.
Risky.
Yeah.
Right on.
Our next question comes from Peter Skelton via email, and he says, you guys have a few data points now showing that for your various brewing systems, Beersmith's calculated IBU does not equal measured IBU via the lab testing you've done. Why not use the utilization factor in Beersmith to match up the calculated IBU to your measured IBU? Then as an encore, brew a beer with a different IBU level and see if the slope is linear for your system. Possibly too nerdy, but I'd be interested in the outcome.
That sounds awesome.
It sounds like way too much work.
No, that sounds like a great experiment. Though.
Yeah. Why not? That sounds like a good experiment.
How?
Yeah.
But how? So the Beersmith. What he's referring to, I believe, the utilization factor is it like you use it for older hops, right? So is that what am I referring to the right thing?
No, your utilization rate is the amount. It's a way of measuring your brewing process's ability to extract IBUs. So, for example, utilization at 60 minutes is like 28%. And then utilization at like Whirlpool, they'll say, whatever.
Okay.
So, but what you have to do is you have to brew your beer with a known amount of hops, with a known amount of alpha acid, and then you say, okay, I put 2 ounces of Saz at 60 minutes, and I got this. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
And then from that, you knew how much alpha acid potential you had, and then you can find out what you actually got into the beer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, that'd take a lot of organizing, right? Because you'd have to get multiple data points.
Yeah, and then it would vary from everyone because it all depends how each home brewer is storing their hops. Because AA, the people packaging these hops know the AA, but when it gets to the home brewer and depending how they store it and all that AA can change. Like if they're freezing their hops or they're putting them in Ziploc bags and throwing them in the refrigerator, all that stuff.
There's another number for that, the storage index.
Yeah.
So
that's what I was thinking of. For some reason, that's what I thought he was talking about. I mean, I guess we could do that. It would we'd have to do, I would think that maybe the best approach to that would be brewing like multiple 1 gallon batches and then sending, but like iteratively. So, and then sending all of those samples in.
You would have to send everyone in.
Yeah, because I would want it would have to be the same grist and all that. And then I would just wonder about applicability. You know what I mean?
Right. No, it's just a exercise in nerdism. I mean, it's just a fun thing to do. It's like, oh, I know that, Beersmith says I should get this much IBU, but now you kind of know. But then if you change your system, it's going to be different.
It's going to be completely different. Yeah, it kind of eliminates what you just did.
Yeah.
If you upgrade your system from
you change your pitch rate, it'll change.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And now, Peter, you got me thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not going to do it. I don't.
Malcolm will do it for you and he'll let you know.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, we're thinking about it, Peter. So thanks for that one. Next question comes from David Hicks. He says, do you ever gather a sample group and give them a triangle test consisting of 3 of the same beer in order to get a sense of how many people will find, he put that in quotes, the odd beer out, even when one does not exist? Well. I have done this. I've done it multiple times, in fact, because I'm a jerk. The first time I did it was about 3.5 years ago. And I was actually collecting data on a real variable that we had tested out. And I got really interested in this kind of, and psychologist in me kind of likes the whole bias aspect of things. And there's expectation bias. When you expect a difference, you will almost always find it because we want to confirm our rightness, right? So I took 3 beers, 3 of the same exact beer over to a buddy's barbecue, and before everyone got to drinking, I had him sit down, and I told him, I really want you guys to focus on this one because it's super close. These beers are very, very similar because they were exactly the fucking same. So, yeah. So
you are a jerk.
The swindle.
Well, and the thing, I got good friends, so they only hated me for a little bit. But the part that I thought was fascinating was, so they did the triangle test. I left the option to say there is no difference on that one, which you don't technically. A triangle test, you can only pick one of these 3. Which one is different? You don't get the option to say that there is no difference, right? Because there's always a difference. There's supposed to be. So I think one of the 10 people selected that, right? Safe bet. And then everyone else picked one of the other beers, and it lined up pretty. Almost a third of the people picked each color, which is what you'd expect, right? Random guessing. And then afterwards, just in chats before I told them what was up, I asked them to kind of like gauge their confidence on how different it was, what was different about it. And every one of them had a whole list of reasons why the green cup, the beer in the green cup was different. It's pretty fascinating stuff because you do start to convince yourself that and when I told them it was this, dude, they were all the same exact beer. I poured them off the same keg. Then it's like, well, then something in the cup, man. There was something about the cup, right? Like, yeah, it's like somebody farted and it wafted by and it changed. Yeah, I mean, it could be any number of things, but once you're convinced that you've identified the different one, I mean, it's hard to kind of back away. We can see that.
Yeah, I had one person was like super argumentative about one he got wrong, whatever, and he was like, "Well, it has to be like the tap or something." I go, "Yeah, you're probably right."
Okay, yeah, okay,
yeah. You figured it out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like when you take a test, and usually when you pick the answer, your first instinct is right, but then if you're trying to think about it for too long, you start to change your answer and convince yourself to go another way.
That is very, very true about these triangle tests as well. Because we know which one's different, right? When we're serving it to people, we don't tell them the variable or anything like that. And I'll watch people, set one aside, and that's the kind of the move. Like, I think that's the different one, and then they go back and they'll pick another one. And usually, if they're doing that first one was the right one. If there's a difference, and that'd be another interesting kind of side study would be to force people to retake the triangle immediately after they take it the first time, but just tell them, like, try it again. Just give it another shot, and see if they go with their gut or if they change their mind, So
it'd be neat, especially if you say, "Hey, what I did here is you tell them I've changed the cups." Yeah. Like, what I mean?
The color,
So if you do it again, they might be apt to think, like, well, I was right the first time.
Yeah.
I was right the first time, so I'm going with red again.
Yeah.
But but you don't have to actually change it.
Yeah, no, that would be
That
interesting.
would be good.
Yeah.
Damn.
Two
So
totally
try it
different
again.
colors.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, there you go, David. Yeah, that's so we do that every once in a while. The second time I did it was on, I believe I took some beers on the session on the Brewing Network, and yeah, I thought it'd be fun to serve them all the same beer.
What about when you
live on the show? Yeah, they're all the same. They're like, what, dude?
What about the one you did down? What was that? New Zealand? Didn't you do the one where you just changed the color?
Oh, dude, that was a fun one. We got to do a show on that. So basically, what we did with that is the brewer brewed up 10 gallons of blonde ale. A 10-gallon system brewed up 10 gallons of blonde ale. I had him split it into 3 kegs. He kept 2 blonde and added Cinnamar.
Yeah.
It's a mostly flavorless darkening agent, really. That I think it's made from carafa malt or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty flavorless, but super. It will change the color of a beer with just a drop. So he added like half the vial to turn it stout black. And so we had people do literally put blindfolds on them, triangle tests live after we let everybody evaluate the beers quiet on their own. Technical difficulties, my bad. So we let the people evaluate the beers out in the audience based on the color. So they evaluated them independently, and the descriptors that went with the dark beer were like roasty and chocolate and all of the things that you'd expect from a dark beer, and the ones that went with the blonde ale were toasty and whatever malt forward. And then we had a couple of people come up on the stage, and we blindfolded them and had them do the triangle test. Totally could not pick out the dark one. But your mind, so your mind like it screws with you big time.
Oh, yeah.
You see this black beer and you think it's going to taste like a dark
stout
beer.
or a porter or something like that.
Yeah. So that was a fun one too.
That's
yeah.
fun.
Oh, you're right, Brian. So next question comes from Chris Plessy.
Dude, you gave me 2 huge ones. This is a freaking book.
I like the way I like your voice. Yeah, but dude, I want you to read this one because he's from Atlanta.
Yeah, cool.
Hey.
All right, Chris Plessy from Atlanta, Georgia, via email. Pitching a starter seems to have so many benefits over direct pitch that seems stupid not to do. Even factoring in the time it takes to make a starter with a stir plate. My biggest aversion to starters is, in a word, laziness. I'm all over that. I don't like taking the time to boil DME in my Erlenmeyer, clean the stove up because my Erlenmeyer always boils over, wait for it to cool, aerate, pitch. First of all, I'm not that good at reading, and I'm sounding these words
We
out.
can tell.
Yeah. Erlenmeyer almost killed me.
That's a big one.
Pitch, stir, however long, chill, decant, because I hate pouring DME into my nice beer. What if instead I were to draw off a half liter of wort, the actual beer I intend to ferment, after the boil while transferring to the fermenter?
So the question he's asking, he says, what if instead I were to draw off a half a liter of wort, the actual beer I intend to ferment after the boil while transferring to the fermenter, into a sterilized Erlenmeyer flask? Let's see, aerate, pitch, stir. He uses a counterflow chiller that can get his wort down to 66F. That's about 19C. So he should be good to pitch his yeast into this starter right after the boil or right after chilling, and then stir it for however many hours. And he's asking how much we'd recommend, and then pitch that. That is what we call a vitality starter, and definitely do it. They kick ass, man. And
Wait, he's not gonna have enough time, right? I mean,
yeah, he will.
What?
Yeah,
how? Like
he's asking how many hours, so you could do 4 hours. That's what we do.
But this is from the beer he's making that day.
Yeah, that's a vitality starter.
He said he had trouble reading. That might be the problem.
He has trouble with more than just reading. Apparently, he's not asking about building up his cell count. He's asking about maybe I guess not propagating yeast. You're not okay. The answer then, right, Chris?
When you guys do a vitality starter, you only do it for a couple hours.
4 hours. Yeah.
I don't do that.
Yeah, 4 hours. So, but if you,
I don't do them. So.
Yeah, I do them all the time. I think they're great. Chris, though, I think the issue is you're not gonna propagate more yeast in the 4 hours that it takes for a vitality starter. So if that's what you're looking for is viability, then what he's gonna have to do is
a
take
pre-starter.
Well, do it beforehand, or let that wort sit in your fermenter overnight, or 24, 48 hours, which is really risky.
Ooh, that's risky.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend.
I would
doing
just make
that.
a starter.
Yeah, I mean it's easy. It's easy enough with DME, but
It is.
Just freaking pitch Imperial. There's nothing.
Or yeah, you can always pitch
You
Imperial.
had me on your first sentence. You said I'm lazy. I'm like, okay.
If you're lazy, then
buy Imperial
Imperial's the
yeast.
way to go.
It has a huge cell count and blammo.
Yeah.
You know?
All
they
I use
do
is their
advertise
stuff.
200 billion cells.
So when I think of vitality starters, I give them like 12 hours. So
That
you
could
start.
make sense.
So you're deep into log phase. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not doing it for a yeast count. I'm doing it for
vitality.
So I do it on the ramp.
So what Colin told me was that the research that was done by like Coors England was 4 hours stir plate or 4 hours oxygenated actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was like prime vitality,
Awesome.
yeast vitality.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing. And have you done these, Brian?
Yeah, I did. I just did on Thursday before flying out that evening.
And do you notice activity it's fast.
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah.
This time wasn't as quick as the yeast. It was a little bit older, but most of the time it's within hours.
Yeah.
You start to see a little action.
Well,
Yeah, it's kind of like bread baking, like making a poolish ahead of time sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So
I don't know what the hell that means.
it's where you put a little bit of your yeast with a little bit of flour and water and let that kind of ramp up before pitching it into the entire thing of bread.
Okay. Well, yeah, and so if you are using yeast that maybe is a little bit old, vitality might not be the best route. I don't know. Maybe you want to up that viability and then you can add a little.
Yeah, normally
fresh
I just pitch the whole Imperial package and it works just fine. But this time it was manufactured a few months ago, and so I just did a vitality starter and just let it hang on the fermenter for a couple extra hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I do that all the time. Yeah, but I like you said, I've been pitching directly way more lately, and I'm not having any issues. So
I owe you a beer, Chris. I live in Atlanta. I'm just tired. I can't read.
well, let's go make you more tired by grabbing a beer. We'll be right back after this break. As every brewer knows, the best beer requires the best hops, which Yakima Valley Hops provides fresh from the source to brewers around the world, carrying everything from classics like Cascade to modern favorites like Galaxy and Mosaic, as well as other ingredients and gear. Yakima Valley Hops has it all. And don't forget to check out their new podcast, The Late Edition, where the YVH crew goes into depth on our favorite plant with industry experts. Head over to YakimaValleyHops.com now to see all they have to offer and subscribe to The Late Edition wherever it is you listen to podcasts.
Compact and simple to use with a small footprint for brewing indoors, the Grainfather makes it easy for you to brew professional quality beers at home. The Grainfather is an all-in-one brewing system that lets you brew all grain beer in a single compact stainless steel unit. It uses an electric heating element and pump to maintain a constant temperature and to circulate the wort during the mashing and cooling stages. It also comes with a counterflow chiller to reduce chilling times and produce high-quality wort. And now, with the addition of their conical fermenter, the Grainfather takes things one step further by offering homebrewers state-of-the-art temperature-controlled fermentation just like commercial breweries use. And with the Grainfather Recipe Creator and Connect app, you can easily design a recipe, sync your brewing system with your phone, and then just sit back and relax as the app takes over and assures that you maintain your scheduled mash temps and boil schedule. Head to Grainfather.com to purchase your all-in-one brewing system today and to sign up for their free recipe creator tool. Once more, head on over to Grainfather.com, that's Grainfather.com, and get started today.
Family-owned Atlantic Brew Supply is the largest homebrew shop in the Southeast. No gimmicks, no multinational corporate overlords, and no BS. They offer exclusive malts, yeast, and more from local artisans, as well as award-winning recipe kits. They also sell professional brewing gear and cask equipment from sister companies ABS Commercial and Cask Supply. Most ingredients are available by the ounce, plus Atlantic Brew Supply has an on-site calculator to help you craft your best brew. Orders are processed same day, and 2-day shipping is guaranteed for East Coast customers. Get 15% off your first order using promo code BREWPOD, that's BRUPOD at AtlanticBrewSupply.com. After a long brew day, the last thing I want to do is waste more time chilling wort. I've tried so many different options, and ultimately I settled on the super efficient immersion chillers made by Jaded Brewing. With the King Cobra and Hydra, I'm able to chill my entire batch of wort from boiling to just a few degrees above groundwater temperature in as little as 6 minutes. If an immersion chiller is right for your brewery, then do yourself a favor and check out all of the rad options Jaded Brewing has to offer at jadedbrewing.com. And be sure to let them know Brewlosophy sent you. All right, next question, Brian. You want to read it to us?
Yeah, our next question comes from Travis Moore, and he's from St. Louis, Missouri. He said, I was surprised to hear you all work full-time jobs. In addition to doing all of the experiments and podcasts, plus it sounds like most of you have kids. My first question is, how do you do it? And he also wants to know what kind of cool opportunities you guys have had since starting Brewlosophy.
Well, I'm here right now in Yakima.
I mean,
I was going to say Yakima's my first answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the events those are always cool opportunities. Good to be a part of, kind of on the industry side of things. I know, Shannon, you've been going to some stuff.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I dabble a bit. I mean, I can't answer the part about kids because I don't have any. So, but being a non-parent, I have a lot of opportunities to go to a lot of festivals and gatherings and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, it's fun. I mean, it is time consuming. It's work.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things expected of all of us when we go to this stuff. So it's not just hang out and fun. It's draining, but it's fun.
Well, talk about draining. I've got 3 kids, and they are 9, 8, and 5. In fact, you got
kids. That sounds like a band.
Don't start that.
I was going to. But yeah, I think a part of it is just having, this is going to sound cheesy, but having a good relationship with my wife and, knowing that there's a lot of balance with the calendar, and just to try to address this question as truthfully as possible. I'd be lying if I said that brewing doesn't sometimes get in the way of family stuff. Not brewing, but recording and writing and editing and brewing and all that crap. It does, and it's kind of a sacrifice you make, but I think I do my best to make it a point to spend the majority of my time
at home.
Yeah, at home. Yeah. Not doing this stuff. I do it though.
Well, that was part of the birth of Short and Shoddy, right? It's like, I want to brew real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I want to get this done. So, and if you do a lot of prep work and brewing and stuff, you can
knock out a brew day if you prep.
Yeah.
I mean, look at my situation. I mean, I'm out here in Yakima right now, and I'm supposed to be in Mexico right now. And
this is so far from Mexico.
Oh yeah, and I made a little bit of a sacrifice, but I wanted to be a part of the festivities and meet everyone that's out here right now. So I decided to be here instead. But having that conversation with my wife and talking about it and knowing that this is something that I'm passionate about and something that I wanted to do, we agreed that she can go by herself. So hopefully she don't leave me for Rico Suave out there on the beach.
Like,
hopefully she comes home next week. So.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
Like, Shannon,
What about
good news,
Xbox?
you're gonna have so much free time.
So as y'all can see, I do
sir.
not have my priorities straight at all.
My situation is pretty cool because I stay-home parent, so I'm, I can brew during the day while the kids are napping, or go out, do a little bit during lunch, come back in, hang out with the kids, go out, do something else during nap. So my schedule is really flexible in terms of being able to brew and write and that sort of thing. Not so much writing and the online stuff, but
you just kind of figure it out, I guess. And I think I'm a very scheduled, organized weekends nowadays, right? Oh, I know what I'm brewing and when I'm brewing it a month out. We're always constantly setting up recordings, who's going to be on, but I have dedicated time on Sunday mornings that I record, and edit these shows in between swimming with the kids and playing Fortnite. So, what else did he ask here? How do you do? Oh, opportunity. You know what my coolest opportunity, dude? So Tim's wife works in marketing, and she, dropped some of the commercials that I've recorded to her bosses, and I've gotten jobs now as the voice of local commercials.
Wow.
Nice.
You do got a voice for radio.
Yeah.
The
Only
weirdest
for
thing is
radio.
getting texts from people like, what the hell? You're in like the Cherry Avenue auto auction commercial. Yeah.
Like, buy a car.
Yeah. So, but I think the best opportunity is meeting you guys, getting to hang out with cool people, and beer events. I mean, beer events are always freaking awesome.
Yeah, they are.
All right, next question. Did anybody else have anything?
Yeah, do anyone have some cool opportunities?
It's kind of same
that came
story,
up?
right?
Yeah, I think number one thing is if you want to do something like this, meaning have a prolific podcast or website, is step one is marry well.
She didn't know about this when we got married.
No, marry well, because basically it's only possible because my wife allows me to do it. So
Yeah. Oh, and there's a support element there and all that. It's true. I mean, you got to compromise on that stuff. So
Sound like a bunch of saps.
I was gonna say
A lot of homage to our wives right now.
I love you, honey.
did you hear that, babe? We talked about you.
She don't listen to me.
She's never
Fast
even
forward
last
to
thing she wants to
33
do
minutes
is,
and
like-
12 seconds.
I think the last thing she wants to do is hear my voice.
Exactly. Well, the next question comes from Jake Hansen from Washington, D.C. This is another long one. He says, after recently moving to the D.C. area and getting a brewing setup together, we asked a local homebrew shop worker if the water in the area is good to brew with. He said it was fine. I think he assumed we were asking if it was fine after filtering or using Campden tablets, when in fact we were asking if it was okay to use as is, so unfiltered. We brewed our first 2 batches using tap water, both pale ales, and the first was pretty tasty. But the second one was undrinkable. I opened it up to the unmistakable stench of vinyl tubing and surgical supplies. What a bummer.
Great descriptions, by the way.
Totally, yeah. My mind immediately went to chlorophenols, so I looked at our water report, and sure enough, it has oodles of chlorine or chloramine, depending on the time of year. Ugh. All this adds up to me, but where I'm left scratching my head is the first batch of pale ale that turned out pretty darn good. These 2 beers were very similar in both ingredients and the method in which they were brewed, but the first batch came from the sink and was fermented using WLP 001, so that's Cal Ale. The second batch was done using water from the outdoor spigot and WLP 095 or Burlington Ale. Could the 2 yeast strains be implicated in this difference? I know the water spigot was different between the 2, but I find it hard to believe that my plumbing would be so weird as to have the 2 connected to different sources. The outdoor spigot, no, there's no way that's the case.
There's
Yeah.
no way.
So the outdoor spigot even shares a wall with the indoor spigot. In either case, we'll definitely be filtering using Campton tablets moving forward. I'm just curious as to the mechanisms behind the vastly different beers made.
Chlorine levels vary.
Yeah, they
your
do.
water
Throughout the
Big
day, they
time.
will vary. Yeah.
Big
so
time.
as the municipality, if it changes its source or whatever, it may have to do different treatment because it might have more biologics. So and sometimes they'll do like a big push occasionally. So on some whatever periodicity, they'll say we're going to do a higher treatment.
You're right.
To keep the pipes clean.
They have to. One of my really close brewing friends back at home. Hi, Paul. He works in water, and he's explained to me if you collect. So for where I see differences in my water, how I know there's a difference is when I make star sand. So if you make if you make star sand with hard water, now this doesn't get into chlorine, but it's the same concept. You're gonna have it's gonna quickly turn into milky white weirdness that leaves a film on your vinyl. It won't hurt
If your water's hard.
if your water's hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if I make my star sand solution first thing in the morning, I get crystal clear star sand solution. If I make it 6 o'clock at night during from October to December, immediately turns milky white.
Yeah.
So he was explaining to me that's because the flow, they'll actually pump water from a completely different source to your house at different times of the day, depending on, now this is Fresno.
This Fresno, yeah.
But depending on the need, right? Depending on the predicted amount of water that's going to be going to houses. So shower times, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was lucky in PA. Our water was super stable. Like it was. I have a water test kit from Lamont.
Yeah.
And I was testing it all the time, and it barely changed. It was amazing. And then there's some people if you listen to Palmer or Colin Kaminsky, read his book. I think he's had anecdotes about it changing, like you said, throughout the day and multiple times throughout the season. So most brewers that are worth their salt, first thing you do is taste your water.
Water.
You have to
Taste
taste the
and
water.
smell your
It's
water.
the main ingredient.
Yep.
Anything you probably
We're on a well.
Fresh. I thought you went and collected fresh
Yeah, we
glacier
just
water.
stand under the I just pull a bucket under the glacier. Yeah. No, we're on a well, and then I use RO.
I
filter
use
everything
RO for all my beers. The easiest
just so I know
way
where
to
I'm
do
starting
it.
at.
Yeah, and that's the thing is if you have really hard water or really high chlorophenol water, but you don't want to go and buy your water from the store, spend $80 on an RO filter. You might the harder your water is, the more it has to filter out. So you're gonna have to swap those filters out maybe a little bit more often. But they work incredibly well. I picked up a RO filter that I ended up giving.
Yeah,
to
you
Brian.
gave it to me.
My water we've switched to a station while they were doing repairs on the one that usually comes to my house, and that's a groundwater. So it's really low. It's really soft generally. So I was having my water was 350 ppm TDS. It was so super hard. Wow. So I got this RO filter, plugged the thing in, collected. It took 18 hours.
About a gallon an hour.
Yeah, about a gallon an hour, and but collected it, and that one pass, I was shocked. 2 ppm TDS.
Nice.
That's another. Since you mentioned the TDS, that's another trick for brewers. Is I've done some water consulting for some places and stuff, and get a TDS meter. So what you do is first thing you do in the morning, you taste your water, smell your water, but you can put your TDS meter in, and if that is changed in some fashion, if there's a step change, chances are your water's changed. And so if you're one of those people who tests their water, you can kind of come in and it's like, oh, it's 350, it's 350, it's 350, and then one day. But anyway,
testing your water. Yeah.
So
knowing your water.
If you get a step change in TDS, then you say, oh, there was a step change. So guess what I need to do?
Exactly.
Recheck my water.
Yeah. So TDS meter, pH meter, all that stuff comes. into play with.
Well, and so TDS is total dissolved solids.
That is correct.
And that's basically the sum of every particulate.
It's all the dissolved.
Yeah, all the dissolved solids.
Yeah. So, cool question. Before we get to the next one, I want to remind everybody about our rad sponsor, Brewers Hardware, who specialize in tri-clover compatible sanitary fittings, conical fermenters, kettles, and brew stands. Brewers Hardware offers a variety of unique items from home and craft brewers, including high quality stainless fittings at great prices and super fast shipping. Don't forget to check out the BCS 482 control system. It provides everything needed for total brewery automation. Learn more at brewershardware.com, and don't forget to mention Brewlosophy at checkout to receive a free gift. That's brewershardware.com. Malcolm, we saved the longest question for you. Go.
Matthew Stacy from Canada. What's the best way to ship beer?
Just don't. Yeah. That's the easiest way to do it. Yeah.
I'm a bubble wrap fan, so you can buy those big sheets of rolls of bubble wrap. and put your beer down. It's nice to have a couple inches on either side. Roll it once, do a rubber band or piece, electrical tape works well, and then I do it again, and then I pack the beer. So if you have to do multiple beers, I put the beers together, and then I tape them again so they can't move around and clink.
Damn.
So the number one thing that I found that causes the beer to leak or break is them hitting together.
That is correct.
So you have two beers basically butted up against each other, neck to neck kind of, and then I just kind of build on that. And then for the box, I put a garbage bag in there, and try to get the box so that size so that you don't have to use too much packing. Don't use peanuts because they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I just use either whatever bulk packing paper or some more bubble wrap. It's kind of expensive, but that's how I like to do it.
It works.
Yeah. So basically, you don't want this beer shuffling around inside the box.
Yeah. And as a guy, hi, I'm Shannon again, the Brew Brother. As you may know from my Instagram, I probably ship a lot of beer and receive a lot of beer around. So that is the best method, is to bubble wrap it. And I personally would say you need to bubble wrap individually.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. So bubble wrap
bottle
them individually, and electrical tape goes a long way for bottles that have caps and corks and things like that. You wrap that thing up in electrical tape, you will not have any issues. But everything that I've seen from packages breaking, because at the end of the day, you got to understand UPS, USPS, FedEx, all these, they don't care about your package. They're tossing them things from the truck to driveways now and things like that. So if you individually bubble wrap them in trash bags, so in the event that something breaks, it doesn't leak all over the package and your whole package is done. Because you may ship 4-6 beers and only one breaks, but you have it in a garbage bag, so it's holding all of that liquid that's in that box. If you do it just individually and just throw them in a box, one breaks, it's going to saturate and soak that whole box. Now they're all going to be damaged, and then once you have a leaky box through one of these couriers, they're throwing it out. They're not even going to complete the delivery.
So to clarify, when you said electrical tape,
yes,
you mean around the cap?
Around the cap. Yeah. So if it has a cage and a cork all around that, if it has a cap around that. Cans, I haven't had any issues. The only ones is the cans that have fruit beers in them. You take a risk of those exploding.
Re-fermenting.
So they re-ferment during delivery and they will explode. And that's a nasty mess.
Yeah, I guess I label mine as fragile. It's like I say glass. Yeah, I say glass, and I'm not sure if it works or not, but I've had good success for competitions and stuff shipping. People like to they label it like yeast samples. To me, I think they know what that is right away.
You don't have to do all of that. Like some people say, I get questioned at FedEx.
No, I've had people.
Like, what's in there? And
I got a call. I got a call back.
Really?
This family place. She opened up the package. She said, we have the right to do that. I was like, well, not anymore because I'm not coming here again. So she's like, you lied to me. You said it was barbecue sauce. And I was like, I mispacked it, But I usually just...
I was drunk when I did it.
Yeah. I usually just say like barbecue sauce or snow globes because, people ship those a lot.
Snow globes is the easiest way to one. And one, if you want to kind of... what kind of gives it away for these couriers to open it is they hear the sloshing of liquid.
Yep.
So a tip, you can throw free rice or Skittles or something inside it, so if the box shakes, it gives that rattle as if it's something else in there.
You can make your labels online, so all you gotta do is walk into the thing and just drop it off.
Walk in and drop it off is the best way to do it.
I do same thing, bubble wrap. I found you can go down to Costco and get one of those wine boxes, and I'll individually bubble wrap all my bottles, put them in Ziplocs, and then put them in each of the slots where the wine goes. And then I just found out recently, the one I'm taking some beer back from Yakima back home. And you can go down to U-Haul and you can buy a styrofoam
U-lines
shippers,
a styrofoam shipper, and for like bomber bottles, big bottles, those were great.
And if you ever want to constantly travel, this is what I do. If you go on Amazon, it's called the wine bag. It's only $80, and it's literally a bag you can check. That is a 24 bottle shipper, styrofoam shipper, and you just slip them right in there, and you can check it as a bag on a flight if you're ever traveling.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't ship beer, so
I trade too much. Unfortunately.
Next question comes from Seth Stahl. Brian, you want to read that one for us?
Yeah, a brewery in Pittsburgh used to make a delicious tea-infused wheat beer. R.I.P. White Sky. What general approaches have you or other Brewlosophy members employed while using tea in beer? While adding during the boil seems likely to produce astringent flavors, while dry hopping with tea bags also seems suspect. Any thoughts on the subject are appreciated. Anybody from Pittsburgh?
Yeah, so that
I just moved here from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so that brewery is the Brew Gentleman who makes that beer, or used to make that beer, and they're a fantastic.
They are a fantastic brewery.
Yes, they make great beers.
Yeah, they do.
And so there's another brewery in Pittsburgh right now called Cinderlands, and he does some tea beers. He's a very talented brewer as well. So go check those guys out if you haven't been there yet, Mr. Seth. But I've done tea beers, and what I do is I just literally make a tea with beer and add it. That allows me to adjust it as I want. So I make a tea with the beer, and then I can dose the tea into the flavor that I like to intensity. So what I do is I basically get my cups, lined up, and I have a couple of cups that are measured out, and I'll put like 100 mils in there, and then I just add the tea infusion to that until I like the taste of it, and I scale it up for the keg.
So you're doing this on the cold side for everybody
cold
listening,
side.
So you're not adding it while you're boiling or anything like that?
Nope, cold side. Yep.
But there are hops that have very strong tea.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely, yeah.
that's not a pleasant thing in beer for me, actually. That tea,
wow.
I know.
I've done. It depends what kind of character you want from the tea, because I've made tea that's kind of concentrated tea and added it as well. So I mean, there's multiple ways you can do it. You have to experiment and find out what
works for
which
you.
expression of tea you want.
Yeah, because I do a wit beer, but I do it on the hot side. I just add chamomile to it, which a lot of people do with their wit beers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and it just depends on how much of it that you're adding in there to get it. I mean, there was one time I'm like probably on batch like 30 of this wit beer, maybe even more than that. But I remember when I first started, I was throwing like 4 or 5 ounces like a lot, about 4 or 5 ounces, even more than that sometimes, of chamomile in there. Mm-hmm. And then by the time it ferments out, I keg it up and started drinking. It's like, Jesus Christ, this is literally a tea. So you got to cut that back and figure out what works for you and the flavor profile you're looking for. Because 1 ounce can go a long way with tea in beer.
Right. Well, and there, different teas have different strengths, really.
Yeah, that's true. Then it depends on your
chamomile is just
size.
such a strong,
I made a Rooibos Saison. And I think it was 5-6 bags. It's all I needed. It was enough just to give it a hint.
Yeah, and doing it with bags is not a
Well, I did bags for that Rooibos one. I'm probably mispronouncing that too. That was right at the end of that was Knockout. A lot of English hops have tea.
Yeah, well,
character.
I was trying to remember. That's what I was looking at my phone for. I was trying to remember the hop that I used like 4 years ago, and I just made a simple blonde ale, and it just tasted like green tea, and not much other hop character that came from it, but I couldn't find it. So, but it could be a hop thing. If you find hops that have tea as a noted character, just toss that in there as well and see what you think. So, all right, final question comes from Marco Papetti from Pavia, Italy. Pavia.
Cool.
Something like that. He says, I recently became interested with methods for reducing oxygen intake since I'd like to extend shelf life of my brews, especially when bottling. Out of the various tweaks I stumbled on, I was fascinated by the possibility of fermenting in a keg and transferring to a secondary for serving and bottling with a closed loop, reducing oxygen contact to almost zero, especially in conjunction with proper purging practices. Since most of my brews get dry hopped anyways, I was wondering about this is a good question, best practices to tackle the intake problem here. My idea is to use the purge via pushing liquid out method for secondary, and then there's no possibility of opening the lid to put hops in this way. On the other hand, if I rely on classic fill and vent when hops are already in, oxygen reduction will not be so effective. What's your experience and suggestion there or here? Thanks a lot for the work and support. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. We've talked about this a lot, yeah. And this is an issue, right? Because for me, I use the brew buckets, those stainless brew buckets from SS Brewtech. So you take the lid off, and you've exposed the top of your beer to a ton of oxygen at that point. So what I've been doing when I do dry hop after the fact, first off, I use these stainless sleeve dry hoppers. So I have to open I move the lid over. I do this all warm. I move the lid over just enough to fit that thing in there, and I drop it in and I close it as quickly as possible, under the fantasy that it's actually helping. Yeah. I doubt it does. The other thing that I've done is I just toss the dry hops in at yeast pitch, and and let it kind of ride it out there. We've done an experiment on that that came back with some interesting results. So
Yeah, I think that's you get different character from the yeast from the hops if you do that. You know, you get a chance for some biotrans reactions.
Yeah.
But you have great oxygen scavenging. You know, so I don't think it's the same. I think it's different. I could be wrong there, but I mean,
it's kind of I don't know what options there are.
I
Really,
haven't
on a
found a way to
homebrew
do
level.
it where you're completely with zero oxygen. I just, unless you have a way of racking into some sort of container off to the side that's already got the hops in it and is fully
Yeah.
purged.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if I'm doing a New England style beer or something like that, I'll do a dry hop at high fermentation just
Yeah.
to kind of
Yeah.
scrub some of that out. And if I'm doing it in a keg, I'll just purge, and
Yep.
you know, I'll connect my. The whole idea that the carbon dioxide settles is bogus, but I will connect the gas to the beer out to hopefully and promote the idea that I'm pushing everything up from the bottom.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly my method too.
But that-
So like when I'm kegging, I literally connect gas to it.
Yep.
And I have it running
It's
the
under
whole
purge.
entire
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I do that with the SS Brewtech Chronicles.
Yeah.
Chronicles. I go in, put my gas in the bottom, so it's bubbling. They have like a little 2-inch triclover.
Yeah.
I just put the hops in right then there.
Yeah.
So I'm actively
And you're hitting it with CO2 the
Yeah,
whole
I'm actively
time.
pushing CO2
Yeah.
out
So
while I do it.
In our minds, we feel that we're pushing, eliminating as much
well, you have
oxygen
you
as
have
we can.
positive.
I mean,
Well, no, you have positive pressure.
yeah, that's true too.
So that's why I do it.
Oh, okay. I see how you're doing it now.
So it's literally
Yeah.
like 1 pound
Yeah.
of active CO2 going through, and then
Yeah.
I kind of just boop and put it in.
But
Yeah.
for somebody who can figure it out, I mean, I feel like there is a market for some product.
I was thinking the
There is
same
a market.
thing.
Me too.
that can somehow attach to a
Yeah.
keg or a fermenter that could
Little
get
string.
completely purges out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially an airlock for hops going in.
Could be magnet based.
Somehow maybe connected to
Or
one of the
magic.
keg lids and mounts on there somehow and gets flushed. Hops
You
go in.
flush
And
it
you
with the
boop.
hops, and you slide something from the bottom.
There's
that just
something. There's
drops it
something
in.
there. Yeah.
There's got to be some. I mean,
TM.
Come on, brewers. hardware.
yeah. But I mean, Marco, the at this point, I think we're making decent beers that aren't getting too oxidized using these. Well, maybe some of us are.
Oh my end. I think I am.
So those are the methods that we use. But I don't know if there's anything else at this
It
point.
sounds like his method is working well.
Yeah.
So I'll just say, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sound like it's working.
That's where I'm at, and that's our final question. So, anybody else have anything they want to say? Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Hey, we had a great
thanks for
time.
having us.
Yeah.
All 3 words.
I told you to speak up whenever
No,
you
I
wanted
know,
to.
I know.
Shannon, where can people find you at, man?
You can find me on Instagram mostly at the Brew Brotha, and that's BROTHA. Or that's pretty much it. That's the most place that I'm active at.
Blowing it up,
I
yeah.
would say go to my website, but I only blog like once every 3 or 4 months, so it's useless.
So, like most bloggers.
Yeah, like most bloggers. Yeah, it's random. But yeah, I'm mostly active on Instagram. You can contact me there and comment on any photo or DM me. I respond very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been great hanging out, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks
It's
for,
awesome. Thank you guys for allowing me to be on here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime,
Huge
man.
fan.
Super
Huge
cool.
fan.
Well, stay tuned because next week we're going to be putting out an episode where we talk with the dudes behind Yakima Valley Hops, Jeff and John. They're going to be sharing all kinds of really interesting information about their history and what's kind of coming up in hops. The Brewlosophy podcast is made possible by the generous support of our sponsors as well as all of our rad listeners. We seriously could not do this without you. Cheers to everyone who has subscribed and left a review of our show. It makes a huge difference. If you haven't yet, please consider doing so. Head over to brewlosophy.com/support to view a list of ways you can easily help us to continue producing this podcast. If you want a reward for your support, visit patreon.com/brewlosophy. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Brewlosophy podcast. Until then, think beer.
Start off the morning with some hot tea, lemon and honey cause it soothes my throat. Put some herb in the bowl, yeah, it's homegrown. Ain't gotta go through the middleman.